On the line with us, Greg Palast, the investigative journalist, author, filmmaker. His most recent, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, which you can watch over at Amazon and other places. GregPalast.com, P-A-L-A-S-T.com is his website, and you can tweet him just like my Twitter handle is Tom, T-H-O-M_Hartmann with two N's. His is Greg_Palast, P-A-L-A-S-T. And Greg, welcome back to the program. It is always such a pleasure and an honor to have you with us, my friend.
Wow. Pleasuring and honoring. Thank you. I'm always happy.
Okay. So, you know, Chris Kobach is up to some new little tricks here, and a lot of us didn't realize that he might have even been behind this whole stuff with the census asking the citizenship question, which is, you know, going to, well, actually, let me set this up for you, if I may. This is a study from the Kaiser Family Foundation. This is not specifically about the census, but I know that you can take this and run with it. A study by the Kaiser Family Foundation, taken in the wake of Hurricane Harvey, revealed that while 74% of immigrant responses reported some type of property damage to their home, they were much less likely than U.S.-born Texans to seek help. In fact, 48% in the 24 counties along the Texas Gulf Coast, 48% of people who had even a single immigrant in their family were, quote, somewhat or, quote, very worried that if they sought assistance, it could call attention to a family member's immigration status and put them at risk of deportation. 4 in 10 immigrants, this is a quote from the study, 4 in 10 immigrants whose homes were damaged said they applied for disaster assistance from either FEMA or the SBA following the hurricane, while almost 2/3 of native-born residents said they applied. In other words, 60% of families who had an immigrant in or associated with their families were afraid to even apply for FEMA help after a disaster. God only knows what they'll do when they're asked if there's a citizen in their household during the census survey. So, to you, Greg.
Wow. No kidding. So, look, as soon as I heard that Trump was adding the question about whether you have a non-citizen in your household to the census, I smelled Kobach immediately. And I just, you know, so I said, this just, I even got on, I was on the air saying, you know, this just is pure Chris Kobach, because I knew that he had suggested it in the secret memo, which the ACLU got from me, thank you, from January of 2017. It's one of his tricks to hunt down illegal non-citizen voters, the alien voters coming from Mexico and Mars, you know, landing here and voting for Hillary.
Right.
Now, it would be, so there's two things going on here. And by the way, I didn't have to guess anymore. Chris Kobach actually proudly announced that he was behind the citizenship question. Now, very important, Tom, that the national press did not take note of when Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Trump's spokeswoman, said, his consigliere there, said, when they asked, why are you adding the citizenship question? She said, and no one picked this up, to protect the Voting Rights Act, to better enforce the Voting Rights Act.
So we want to protect minorities? Is that what she's saying?
No, their idea, Chris Kobach's idea, and he's talked to me, by the way, about this, you know, not necessarily voluntarily, but when I corner him and jump him. You know, his idea is of protecting voters is to prevent the non-citizen voters from diluting your vote, what he calls stealing my vote because they're non-citizens on the voter roll. He can't find any. In 20 years of hunting, he found one, a guy who started voting before his citizenship papers came through. He is a U.S. citizen. So this is about hunting down those non-citizen voters. That's
those non-existent non-citizen voters.
Right. And we know that from his prior operations like cross-check and his citizenship proof case, which just went to court 2 weeks ago, that the methods he uses to determine whether you're a citizen voter are pretty suspect. Now, there's everyone named Jose Garcia. I'm not kidding. He literally had an expert named Jesse Richmond say that he goes through the voter rolls and finds, quote, un-American names like Garcia and Hernandez. I kid you not. Wow. So this will be used. Here's what they're going to do. They're going to send out a postcard to every family in the census that says that they have a non-citizen in their household to confirm that they, the voter, are a citizen. Now you get junk mail, you throw it out, and you're going to lose literally 1 million voters if this happens.
So he's turning this into a giant caging operation, basically?
Yes, exactly. So that hasn't been picked up by the press.
Wait a second, Greg. I thought that when you gave information to the Census Bureau, it was anonymized.
No. No, Obama and various presidents have said to get a clear census, we don't want the IRS, we don't want the immigration authorities, we don't want anyone or your ex-wife looking for child support. It may be due her, but you're not allowed to use this. By policy, you can't use the census for those matters. But unfortunately, there is no such protection in the law. And Kobach has said specifically he will be using. He said people will lie to say they are citizens in order to vote, but they will tend not to lie on the census form. So part of it is, as you say, a giant caging operation to basically get rid of real citizen voters by asking if you have a non-citizen in your house. Now, that's half of it. You also brought up the other half. It's a twofer for these guys. That's the Kobach scheme. And, of course, the other Republican hitmen, going all the way back to Karl Rove, know that if you start asking people with immigrants in their household questions on a voluntary survey, they won't answer them because they're scared. And you'd say, well, why do they have to be scared? Because the way that the INS, the ICE, now it's called ICE, acts, and the government acts, you are always feeling threatened and in danger. In my film, I talked to a Korean American citizen who just became a citizen. He tried to vote, but he was eliminated by the cross-check list in Georgia, accused of voting in another state with a different middle name. He was accused of voting twice, which is a crime. Now it got straightened out so he could finally vote. But he said he was so scared, he said he's never going to vote. That's what they want to do. They want to scare people off from voting. They want to scare people off from filling out the census. And as you know, the census determines the size of the congressional delegations of states. They know this is going to murder. This question will murder California, will murder New York and New Jersey with large immigrant populations, and they know that that's going to shrink the Democratic congressional delegation. They know it, and shrink the number of Democratic electoral votes for president.
It also determines how much money goes to those places. So they're also going to shrink federal dollars going to New York and California. But it's also going to hit Texas very hard, isn't it? And New Mexico and Arizona. These are Republican states.
Well, New Mexico and Arizona are only Republican states because they've stolen enough votes to keep it red. Right. The demographics of New Mexico and Arizona are solid Democratic blue. Let's not forget that you did elect a Democratic governor before the current governors were chosen. You did have in Arizona. Texas is quickly changing. And so it's one of the things that this is actually part of the campaign. Remember, first they got to keep those states red by eliminating voters of color, especially that color brown.
So the caging part, Kobach's first idea, which is if you say to the Census Bureau, yes, I am not a citizen, or there's a person in my home who is not a citizen, if you assert that you are, a citizen and a voter, but there might be somebody in your home who's not a citizen, then they're going to send you this postcard. And if you fail to return the postcard saying, yes, I swear under penalty of oath I'm a citizen or whatever, or I'm registered to vote, if you fail to return it, they'll simply remove your name from the voting rolls. So when you show up at the polls, you get handed a placebo ballot, a provisional ballot. Is that the scheme that they're going to use in Texas to disenfranchise the Hispanic vote in Texas?
And they have to. They're desperate to disenfranchise that vote. Those states are turning blue very rapidly. Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. Obviously, we know California, Florida, New Jersey, and New York. And, of course, Florida's up for grabs, too. This is such a gold mine for them. Just that one question. You just knew it had to be Kobach because it was just so – it's so magical for the GOP. Now, I wouldn't mind if it actually helped the census, but it doesn't. The point of the census, our founding fathers – said we have a purpose for the census. How many Americans are there? How many people live within the United States? Where are they? And so also we can divide political power and economic power. So like you say, also that goes to the to giving out funds, which is divided along a formula for the census for many social programs. And so obviously that would kill California. And keep in mind that the reason why states get money on the census, which includes, when we talk about immigrants, let's not talk about illegal immigrants, so-called, or undocumented. most of the people that are going to be scared away are actually green card immigrants.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
they use roads, they use bridges, they pay taxes, they have Social Security cards. By the way, I'm going to have to say on my census form, I do have a non-citizen living in my household who pays Social Security taxes, but also uses our services and pays income taxes too.
So you're going to get caged as well. I'm pretty sure that the early censuses actually counted slaves and women who could not vote, and my certainty about that comes from reading Patrick Henry's rants during the Virginia Ratifying Convention, where he was very concerned that the slaves were not being counted, and that and this all led to the 3/5 majority, or the 3/5 compromise.
Exactly. I was about to mention the 3/5 compromise, which was the idea. When people misunderstand that, the 3/5 compromise was to say that you could have that states like Virginia could count 3/5 of their slaves. And that was what that was all about.
For the purposes of determining how much federal money they would get and how many representatives they would have in the House of Representatives.
And electoral votes, yes. Which was crucial for example, in Thomas Jefferson's election.
Right. And,
at that time, people even voted for their slaves, by the way. But, thank you, because you put this in historical perspective. So our founding fathers thought a real count, whether you're a slave, whether you're an immigrant, that we need a count of people in the United States of America, and it shouldn't be used as a tool for harassing immigrants, for cutting the legs off the political power of New York and California. It shouldn't be used to cleanse the voter rolls of New Mexico and Arizona. It was to count Americans and those who want to become Americans.
Right.
And
persons
this is
in the United States,
duty.
not all citizens. Yep.
Yes, and they really want to use this as a weapon. They want to weaponize the census, and there couldn't be anything worse.
As astonishing. As always, Greg, you are brilliant. Thank you so much for the great reporting and for dropping by the program today. Greg Palast.